Hello, Captain VFC here with another build analysis video, aka a BAV. This time the Amodel Havilland DH.60 G3 Moth Major. Blimey, that is one heck of a mouthful for somebody who does not really have their brain working today, in 1/72 scale. If you're new here, then a build analysis video is not me pointing at every single part going, look, glue 1 and glue to number 2, but it is more of just kind of a general review highlighting some of the key bits that I found. We are mostly making this as per the instructions with a notable difference. I like to make my biplanes as monoplanes first, so you'll notice that I painted, just before now, I just painted the top wing and in fact the bottom wing silver in advance of that because I'm essentially assembling the two parts separately. Also, look at me using Revell's Aqua Colour. You're not going to see that very often because I hate them, but it was the only wooden sort of colours that I had, and I was just painting the dashboards there. I say dashboards, they're not dashboards, are they? They're instrument panels. And then here, the inside's painted a pale grey colour, and now I'm just adding a Citadel wash, is it the Basilicanum grey contrast paint, just to add some shadows. Now, this aircraft is a preserved example, and I'm basing this on photos of the exact aircraft. It is not dirty. I did not add that to do some weathering. It was just to add a little bit of shadows, just to take the edge off somewhat. And then just there you saw me adding, using a toothpick, the black dials as well. And now very carefully gluing said instrument panels in. This kit has very, very limited location lines and pegs and things, so most of what I did is use tweezers to line everything up, and you can see me doing that here to get these I was going to say 3 instrument panels, and then I went, how? There can't be 3 instrument panels, there's only 2, but it's one at the front, one at the back, and then there's a headrest sort of divide wall. I'd call it a firewall, but there's no way, it's made of wood, it would just burn, but you know this sort of thing. It's a panel at the back, and then gluing that in. Interestingly, this is the point where I realised one of the key errors in the aircraft. It has one set of rudder pedals for the front seat, and it has one control column for the rear seat. Now, if that sounds annoying to you, then stay tuned, because trust me, this kit is going to get a lot more annoying. I didn't do anything about that. It will continue to look a little bit odd. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is hand over to History Captain, who is sitting in History Captain Corner, with a brief history on the DH.60. We'll then return and continue talking about the construction of this kit. Over to you, History Captain. The DH.60 was designed by Geoffrey de Havilland as a touring aircraft. First flying in 1925, powered by the ADC Cirrus engine, the aircraft was an instant success. Partly because of features such as its ease of maintenance and its folding wings that make it very compact to store, and partly because, well, there was no real competition. The DH.60 simply hit the market at the right time, with Royal Aero Clubs starting the same year. With deals going to supply these flying clubs all over the country, it is estimated that by 1929, 85% of every civil aircraft in the UK was a Moth of some variety, mostly the DH.60G with the de Havilland Gypsy engine. There were a variety of DH.60s developed as improvements were trialled and introduced, with the DH.60 G3 Moth Major entering production in 1934, featuring the more powerful Gypsy Major engine. At this pivotal time in aviation history, the DH.60 became a trainer for the masses and became the plane of choice for many pioneers, including the famous Amy Johnson, female pilot that set long-distance records all throughout the 1930s. But there is one glaring omission from the DH.60's service record: the RAF, who were not satisfied with various elements of the design. But de Havilland had been working on this from the outset, and once these had been addressed, the new aircraft was considered to be different enough to be redesignated as the DH-82 Tiger Moth. The easiest way of telling these types apart is by the wing. The DH-60's wing is straight, the DH-82's wing is swept to clear the front cockpit. Over 600 DH-60s of all types were produced, which for the time period I think is very, very impressive. But of course it's entirely overshadowed by the nearly 9,000 Tiger Moths that ended up being built. Okay, and now is where the PTSD begins. The decals on this kit are like every other Amodel kit I have ever done. They disintegrated. See this registration? Yeah, that's supposed to be one piece, and it is too thin. The water, if you get it too hot, it just dissolves it. If you get the water too cold, it doesn't move off. If you get the water just right, it goes, ha, sucks to be you, and it disintegrates anyway. So both sides, the registration, bearing in mind there are very, very few decals actually on this. I'm looking at it now, there's just a couple of Moth logos and the registration, really. That's kind of it. Every single one of the registrations, which is just the big ones, fell apart in one way or another. And you see me here, I've just given up. I just cut the G off separately. Thought, right, we're going to do this one at a time. But of course, that is not satisfactory. You can't just have cracks and broken bits throughout all your letters. No. So the obvious solution is to get the paint out. So I painted most of the block lettering, or overpainted, sorry, most of the block lettering. Here I am doing the white. Does this make it perfect? No, but bear in mind that this aircraft is about the size of the palm of my hand. So, to be honest, it will do. Again, just looking at it now, you'll see in the at the end of the video, the N on one side looks a little bit shaky. So next, we have the struts. They are all being cut and positioned to where they should be. This being a limited run kit, the fit is not as fantastic as it would be, for example, on the Airfix Tiger Moth. A comparison which is obvious when making this. I've made a lot of Airfix Tiger Moths. They fall together beautifully. Probably the best biplane I've ever made. But here it is just a case of cutting off the struts, tidying them up and positioning them with the bottom facing in towards the plane and the top facing away from it, and very, very carefully, very, very slowly going through each one. It is a bit of a laborious task, not gonna lie, but you get the result. Once the fuselage struts are stuck onto the bottom of the fuel tank, you see me here going over with the outer wing struts. This was much, much later, so I basically let the plane dry first, painted those fuselage struts, and then come back another day when everything was solid, and then gone through the wing struts. Finally then, the rigging, which I didn't actually get that much footage of because this is the first time I've rigged on camera and it was mostly just my hand. I used a gauge 9 guitar string from my collection, chopped it into little pieces and super glued it on with then bobs of super glue. We're calling the super glue blobs Bob. The bobs of super glue replicating the ties in between cables. It's just easier for me to show the finished product, and here we go. I did also miss the footage of the windscreens. The windshields are glued on. Well, one of them is glued on, the other one is somewhere either on my desk or on the floor, so it will be glued on when I find it, and the wheels and just little things like that. So I guess all that is left is some final thoughts. Yes, this is not the first time I've made this kit. I have made one before, and I'm going to predict now it's not going to be the last time. Just take your time with it. Deep breaths where necessary and breaks where necessary as well, and you can get a good product at the end of it. I am loving the very glossy finish. It looks very smart, and yeah, I'm going to give this a solid 60 out of 60 G3 Moth Major. I need a scoring system for moths. I like moths. So let me know what you think. Are you interested in building something like this? Have you bought a Tiger Moth and you want something with straighter wings? Because you should absolutely buy this. And don't forget, if you like the content, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want. And this was predominantly made on Twitch, so if you want to have a go at me live and tell me real time that I'm making mistakes, then please also follow me on Twitch. So thank you for watching, and hopefully see you again. Farewell. Oh no! My wardrobe's overrun by moths! I like moths. I like moths.